I'm Jenny, your host, one of your co-hosts today, and we have Sherry joining us. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, this is great. So yeah, I hear you fantastic. I'm wondering if
Excellent.
I'm wondering if I'm too high up. Am I too high up?
I don't know. Are
Is-
we live yet?
We are. We are recording. It's going out. It's simulcasting onto Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, onto YouTube at the same time. And so here we are.
All right. And you'll never guess where I'm at.
Where are you?
Well, it was exactly what we were going to talk about today. I happened to be at my friend's house helping her with cleaning because we're both ADD and have such a hard time. So I am in her little guest house and she's in there doing her paperwork that is just a pile of it. But
I
she's
love
been
it.
putting
Oh
off
my
for 2
gosh.
years.
That's so
Yes.
fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, before we get started, let's introduce you and me. So, hi everyone. I'm Jenny. Um, I'm a ADHD coach and a light walker, which is part light worker and part Jedi Knight, helping people. So we have with us today Sherry, which we're doing this cleaning house episode. It may turn into more, but Sherry Manelli is graciously here to share all of her amazing, I would say tips, but like, what are you gonna first introduce yourself? What else do you want people to know? Where to find you and all
Okay.
that good stuff.
I'm Sherry Minelli. I live out here in San Diego, California area, and I have always struggled with trying to get stuff organized and cleaned, and didn't really. I should have known that I was like ADHD, but just didn't really know and realize all of the symptoms of it, but also didn't realize. And I guess it's because my family is so ADHD that I just thought that that was what was normal.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't realize some of the strategies that would actually help me. Started discovering them on accident. And then my 20-year-old was at college and she said, "Oh, by the way, mom, that's called this and that's called that. And this is executive dysfunction and that's this." And I went, "Oh, I had no idea that these were actual techniques somebody else had come up with, but I accidentally created them for myself."
I
So,
love that.
um, when COVID started, well, and I also do ENF. I also do EFT tapping and hypnosis and meditation and spoken word, and I have a
Yes.
YouTube channel because I really wanted to start sharing that and helping people get over their fears and their
What's your
phobias.
what's your YouTube channel? Share what that is here.
Sherry, Sherry Light and Love.
Thank you. Yes, I'll put
Sherry,
that in the show notes
Sheri.
afterwards.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I wanted to on my YouTube channel, I put something up there last week, some EFT tapping for cleaning to help people that go from overwhelmed to help them get into the mode of cleaning. And I'm going to be putting some other things up this week. But I thought it would be helpful to give you some of my tips of what I've learned since the beginning of the middle of 2020 when I learned it all.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm excited to hear what you've come up with, and I'll throw in my 2 cents if you want me to. But like, I really am excited for you just to share what's working. We're always looking for what works, and a lot of people share stuff that's you know the traditional thing. Like we might hear
I'm,
some traditional
yeah.
stuff, and I'm like, that doesn't always work with my clients. They need new
Yeah, so
things.
this
They need
is
new, unusual tricks. Yeah.
So this is what's worked for me and my friend Jana. We met because our kids were in gymnastics, and but we're like 45 minutes to an hour away drive. And so when the lockdown happened, we both were like, we have got to do something to our house because she's been in her house 17 years at that point, and she has a really tiny bungalow. It's like 1,100 square feet, and 2 kids plus a husband. And I had a 2,700 square foot house, but I had been there 22 years. And I felt like, all of these cabinets that I've never cleaned out, like the laundry room cabinets, and just, just too much clutter from when the kids were little. And I just felt like
Yeah.
I really needed a good spring cleaning, but I was so overwhelmed. Every time I would look at a drawer, I'd just give up, like, I can't do this. So what we discovered over the phone is if we both would take a picture of something little, like just one drawer, something we could get done in 25 minutes. And she would send me her ugly picture. I would send my ugly picture. And then we would actually stay on the phone together while we cleaned it. Because what we would find is a lot of times we'd be like, all right, I have this, but I don't know what to do with it. And that's where we would start looping and we couldn't figure out. And then we'd get overwhelmed and we would leave the project and go to something different or new. We would never finish anything. So, in both of us not having that attachment to somebody else's stuff and being on the phone, we were focused for those 25 minutes, but also we got to take a picture afterwards and say, okay, I finished. This is what it looks like. And it was a bit of a game because we had to finish within 25 minutes.
Yes, it's like making a challenge and a game, and you get the instant reward of a picture of
Yes.
the clean, the clean picture.
Yes. And then we were looking back like 2 years, 2.5 years later, and we're like, oh my God, I forgot how bad it was. But we had gone through and it was like kind of doing an onion because what we learned the hard way is that the first pass, especially if you're really cluttered and really need to organize, you don't want to take your drawer and go, okay, well, I'm going to scrub it out and I'm going to put contact paper down and I'm going to make it and I'm going to paint it and I'm going to make it beautiful because it's too overwhelming. The first step for us, we learned, was getting like things together and just throwing out what we could and giving away what we could and putting the other like things with the other like things. And it took us a while. I found 7 thermometers around the house after 6 months of cleaning.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, but that's
Like,
what
who needs
happens.
seven?
I know,
Yeah.
right? Who needs seven? We have Brian who's joined us. Hey, he says, "Hey, ladies. Hi, ladies. Yes, hello. Hi,
Hey.
Brian. Happy you're here with us." So we're talking about cleaning and, like items being in different places. That's like such, people don't notice they do that, right? And I have two junk
I had no
drawers.
idea.
I keep miscellaneous crap like in my junk drawer, but I have two of them. So you have to kind of check both of them. And sometimes I've had duplicates that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I had this. Yeah.
So another tip that I learned the hard way, I would always take, my junk drawer and try and take one or two things out and I'm trying to figure out where it goes. And what I finally realized is if I took a cardboard box, dumped everything in there, and then started taking things back, it was a lot easier. It made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it was a lot faster.
Just, you think that really just addresses the overwhelm still? Like, did you just feel less overwhelmed seeing it could all fit in a box and it's not enormous?
Yeah, and I think that then instead of like trying to figure out what to take
Yeah.
out, I was going from what to put
Yeah.
in and where the rest of it went and also being on the phone with my friend. And then what we finally did is about a year into COVID, I finally got down here and her husband was away and that's the best time. It's like when the kids and the husband are away and you can just the two of you concentrate. Um, and we started cleaning her laundry room, which she would keep all of her paperwork in there and the giveaways in there and like books, just so many different things. And what we realized is that we had, a lot of this is in books, but it didn't make sense until we started doing it because we hadn't had everybody else seemed like they knew what they were doing because they weren't ADHD. And when we were doing it, it was just so
Yeah.
overwhelming. So now that I look at the books or I've heard things, I'm like, oh, that's why they say put like things together. Oh, that's why they say this and that. But I didn't get
Yeah.
it back then. So, me and her being together, um, I mean, you can't believe how much because she would get stuck and I would see her like practically panicked when I was here because she's like, I don't want to go through this. This is too much. Let's just go get coffee or let's do something else. But I would force it. And then she came up to me last week, and that was the first time she's been up to my place. And she saw the same look in my eyes, like, okay, I don't want to do this. This is too
Hmm.
overwhelming. Let's just go do something else. And she kind of forced it because I have my husband's business and we have a pretty large office space with a warehouse. So I've got my house plus that, and it really gets to be overwhelming.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
here I
think
am
also when
today. I
it's
was here
your stuff,
yesterday, and
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I think when it's your stuff, you get more. So you're in your friend's stuff. You're a little more objective.
It's easy. Yeah, if it's somebody else's stuff, it's like and then I don't mind cleaning too. I'm in there and I found a really great book and we can discuss that later too about how to really clean because I guess I could never really figure out how to clean certain things and I didn't realize that if I just had one bucket with all the cleaning supplies and I knew how to clean, how much easier that would be. It just took all the irritation out.
That's a really good idea too. So you mean you carry the
So,
bucket with you as you go from place to place, or do you do that later?
yeah, so, well, this one lady, I don't think she's in business any longer. I think she's probably retired because she's in her 70s, but she wrote this book called, um, oh gosh, I'm going to forget. It's going to have to be in
Is
the
it the
show
fly
notes
lady?
because it's not coming to me right now. No, this is a
Oh, okay.
different lady. And she owned a cleaning company, and she was saying that even 60-year-olds that she would talk to really had no idea how to clean. And she had three primary ingredients. It was soft scrub with bleach, it was vinegar, and it was crud cutter, which you find it's degreaser, and you find it in the paint section of Home Depot or Lowe's
Oh,
or whatever,
right.
but it doesn't chew up your hands. So you can actually spray because she likes to feel to see if it's something still dirty. And she has you get a whole bunch of white rags and then a whole bunch of microfiber rags. And I didn't know with microfiber that you're not supposed to get them greasy or dirty. So you use the white rags first and you use the degreaser. And then you finish things with vinegar, spray vinegar, and the microfiber, and it makes it really beautiful and so it's so much simpler and then she has you get a whole bunch of scrub brushes and so she does have you get a caddy. She doesn't use water because she's like, I don't know how to get water clean that's dirty and I don't know if anybody else does. So you have like 30, 40, 50 white rags and as soon as they're filthy, as soon as they're dirty, you chuck them, into another bag or box until you're ready to wash them so
Right.
that you can see, if something's white or something's dirty, you know whether or not it's clean.
That's very
So
smart.
I don't know. That was a huge aha for me this week actually.
That's a really big, I never thought of it myself. And I'm thinking see, I'm going to sound like I'm the stupidest person, but the truth is, like, I'm a big Windex girl. Like, I clean everything with Windex.
Yeah.
I, I think that was in my big fat Greek wedding, and I was like, that's me. Windex solves all. Like, and I would actually get on the floor and clean the floor with Windex because I'm like, even the biggest floor can get done with, paper towels and Windex, little at a time, right? Because I had that same feeling of the water. I'm mopping the floor, and now at some point the water's dirty, and now I'm just
So dirty.
sloshing dirty water all over the floor, and
That's how I felt. And I'm like, there's just seems something wrong here. But instead of using Windex, you can use vinegar. And supposedly she likes
mhm.
vinegar better than Windex. She was talking about that too, that, vinegar on windows. She said, once you start doing it with vinegar, it'll take one try, whereas to get the same results with anything else was like five
Okay.
tries. So
Well, see,
she's a
I've
real
just learned
believer.
something new here. This is wonderful. Yeah.
And it's cheap.
Well,
That's the
yeah.
other great thing.
Yeah. It's like 69 cents. Well, I don't know what it is now, but I remember when I used to buy
Yeah.
vinegar for various reasons, it's like under $1 for like a big thing of vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, one of the things you're talking about that I mean, to put a name to it, if other people have heard of body double, I mean, that's what you're
That's what
accomplishing when you're with your friend, right? Is that body
and that's
double
what I
effect.
didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. And I said it one day. I was sitting by my husband and I'm like, I couldn't get anything done. And then the minute you guys came downstairs, I felt like getting stuff done. And my daughter Allie says, "Oh, mom, that's a body double." And I'm like, "A what?" And she explained it to me, and I'm like, nobody ever told me that. If I never put it together until that particular day, that's what got me motivated, and that I needed
Yeah.
somebody else.
It's really interesting too, because you don't, it could be, now this doesn't, I'm not talking about for cleaning your house, but like to get a little more motivation to actually get into action, sometimes just being around people at all helps. And so I'll tell people, like, go to bring your stuff, like even if it's reading a book, go to the Panera Bread or the library or the coffee shop where you're around other people. Because when there's something subconscious, like when you're out around other people, it's almost subconscious peer pressure. It's almost like we know what we're supposed to be doing, and we're like, well, if I'm holding a book and sitting here like I'm reading the book, I might as well read the book. Like like clearly I'm supposed to be reading the book.
Yeah, it's totally true for me. Yeah, it's totally true
Yeah.
for me.
And
Um,
also getting someone
so
to come and check on, if you don't have someone to sit there while you're cleaning, you could also have someone like clean the house on Monday, like invite them over on Tuesday, where you've got this peer pressure aspect of like, I don't want them to come over and see my house like this. So that it can also activate you. I mean, it's
so
not
that's
as
what happened yesterday, and I love that. Whenever you have company, it's like all of a sudden you really feel like cleaning. And yesterday she knew I was coming down and it was going to be about an hour and a half before I was down, and she was cleaning like crazy, and she's like, I got more done in like that hour and a half than she had in like 4 hours usually, or 6 hours.
Mhm.
And then we started, cleaning her house and working on different aspects. um, I've got a few more
Yeah,
tips
yeah,
that might
keep
help
going,
if,
keep
if somebody
going.
else.
Yes. I don't know,
Okay,
Brian, if you have a
so
question,
um,
feel free to pop it in the feel free to ask a question, but otherwise, yes, Sherry, go ahead.
so identity, and this came from Atomic Habits, and both my friend Jana and I noticed this, is that um, she didn't have the identity of being a clean or organized person. So she started doing the affirmations of, I'm organized, I'm clean, I'm focused. And I started doing that too in the last year. I'm enough. That was another really big one for her and for me for self-esteem. And because of that, you know, your identity is everything. If you believe yourself to be slob and disorganized, you're gonna see
That's a
that play
huge
out.
segue into like, so we just took it from ADHD into the spiritual-ish realm. Because yes, and you know this from doing subconscious reprogramming, or anything that has to do, like your identity is the foundation of what you're going to experience in your outer realm. Because who you think you are, you will experience. And if you think you're a mess, you will experience a mess.
So I
And if you
think
think you're
that's,
clean, you will start to.
and I think that's why that body double is so important. If you get the right person who will help you lift up instead of like telling you all your
Oh,
faults, because you might have family members that are always criticizing you, like you're always messy, you're always losing things, and you hear that so much, it just gets you down. Whereas you have a friend that's like, you're doing a great job, we're doing this, we can do this. I can't believe how far we've come in the last year, and then all of a sudden it just keeps you going.
it's so true. You know what my nickname was when I was younger? My mom nicknamed me Jenny Drops It, because
Oh
I would use
no.
something, and then wherever I was done use it would just stay there, right? And this was my whole life. I remember when I got married, she told my husband, "Oh, they were laughing about it because I still to this day was doing that, where like, and he said, "Oh, I noticed like if she's drinking, a cup of coffee, I know where she was when she was drinking it because she left the coffee there, even though she's wherever else." So he would just pick up the coffee and go put it where he thought I would see it again. And I was like, where? And I would come back because I know where I knew where it was. I was like, "Where's my coffee?" He's like, "Oh, I put it over there." Well, I didn't put it there, so it meant nothing to me if it was over there. So I was like, "Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone." But then I did some subconscious reprogramming to make myself, I said I wanted to be effortlessly responsible, which just
Oh, I
because
like that one.
one of the things, the identities that, where how that played out was I would become tortured by cleaning, especially, or pick, just what I could deem tedious chores. Like Fly Lady had this thing like shine your sink, and I tried shining my sink, and it was like I would sit there and like it would be all the energy in the world to muster it up just to walk across the floor, to get to the sink and start doing the dishes, which is so silly. Literally would take me under 5 minutes, but I would just be like in my head and in my heart, it felt
It was
so,
looping,
oh,
right?
so Yeah, well, just that it was hard. Like I just kept saying, this is so hard, this is so hard, right? So I
That's a
believed it
perfect
was
segue.
hard.
Yes.
And so what I did was
So,
subconscious reprogramming to make it effortlessly responsible. Now being responsible, like doing these little things, like putting away my coffee cup and cleaning the cat box or finishing the dishes. I really literally have never looked back. I do not have a problem with that anymore at all. I don't even think about it. I just do it.
yeah. So I, I have a second way of conquering that. So, you can do EFT, you can do affirmations. There's a whole bunch of different great ways of reprogramming your mind. One of the things that I would find is I would have a list of things to do, and it would just be silly, like call the dentist to make an appointment. And I just couldn't get, or I don't know, yeah, clean up the cat litter box, whatever it was. And I couldn't get myself to do it. And what I would sit there and do is I would type, I would say, um, good morning, future self or higher self or something. And I'd say, I have to do the cat litter box. I don't want to do it. And just in typing, I don't want to do it. And then I would have it typed to me. I would go back and forth, two personalities. Why don't you want to do it? Because it's annoying. I don't want to take the time. It's boring. It's whatever. And just in complaining about what I didn't want to do, I'd find myself getting up and going to do it after I was allowed to express that I didn't want to do it.
I love that. Look at that.
works.
That's what I
It worked
haven't
so
heard. It's
well. I
like you
couldn't
just
believe.
needed to purge the feelings, get it out, and then you were like, oh, now I can just go do it.
Yes, yeah.
I love that. I'm going to be
And
sharing that one for sure.
oh, I do that one all the time. Like I'll get up, I like, good morning, higher self. I'm supposed to do this, this, and this, and I don't want to do it. Well, why don't you want to do it? Well, what would happen if you did do it? Well, how would you feel if you did do it? Sometimes I can get, I'll ask those questions to myself and like, well, why is it so hard? Uh, and it's not hard, but you're complaining it's hard. Well, what makes it hard? Or sometimes when I'm stuck on something, like I need to do something, but I'm finding myself spinning or looping because
Hmm.
I don't know how to get it done. So that's when I would do the typing and I'd say, I don't know if I should do this or if I should do this or if I should do this about one particular event. I'm trying to think of a good example, like like I don't know when I should schedule something. I've got this going on and this, so I don't know if I should do this or this or this. And it would talk me through, and typing through it of, where I'm stuck, it would suddenly become unstuck and then I could do it.
So you know what that is?
Hmm.
That is because with ADHD, it's all about, I mean, it's not all 100%, but it's like 90% about executive functioning,
Okay.
which includes organizing your emotional stuff, your memory, activation, motivation, time management, your focus. All those things are called executive functions, and they come from brain signals in your prefrontal cortex, right? And so when you're trying to prioritize and plan, it's a lot of moving parts. And with ADHD, your working memory is only holding 3 to 5 things at a time instead of the average person's holding 7 to 9 things. So the memory is a little bit the
Oh,
only place where I will say I could see how you could say a little bit of a deficit because you're not holding as much in your working memory at one time, which is why pictures are powerful. If you can take a picture, your brain gets so much more information out of one picture instead of a 20 line item checklist. So anyway, so what you're doing is you're, see, now my memory, I just went, wait a minute, where was I going with this? What did you just describe? Oh, say it again. I'm sorry. Say the last part again.
um, that I would get so stuck, things would be ambiguous and I couldn't figure out, and things were
That's
looping.
it.
So I would write to
Right.
myself.
That's it. So I'm sorry. Thank you very much. That's a perfect example. So the one of the executive functions that they've just only in the last, I'd say 5 years, have identified as an executive function is your self-talk. Yes. So that
Oh,
means that conversation in your head when you have ADHD is just kind of quiet and you don't really pay attention to it because it's not as loud as all the other competing stimuli that your brain sees and thinks about. And so when you're writing it out or talking to someone, it's louder. It's not that you didn't know it. It's just you weren't really, it wasn't commanding your attention the way that it does when you focus. Like when you're having a
Okay.
conversation with someone, you can have this conversation with yourself. But like I tell people, to start with, try just talking out loud. Like everything you're saying you could be writing, you can write it for sure. You can write it out if that works for you, or you can even say it out loud. Why don't I want to do that?
I go back
Yeah.
and forth. Yeah.
I just don't feel like it. Well, why don't you feel like it? Well, where do I start? I don't, and then, but it's it's the self talk, and you're strengthening
Yeah.
it by focusing more on it through writing it out or saying it out loud or telling a friend or a coach or someone. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I see I have all these tricks that I have figured out in the last few years. And part of it was because I was a hypnotherapist and EFT tapping coach, but other ones were just because of my friend Jana and I figuring this out for 2 or 3 years because we were going crazy. So here's a new one that I learned last week. I no longer do dishes. I am making my kitchen sparkle.
Reframing. Yes. 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 I love reframing.
So the
Yes.
reframing, and that really helped me
Yes.
because I hate doing dishes, but I love a sparkling clean kitchen.
Yes. That's working for me with
So,
losing weight. I'm not losing weight. I'm gaining health.
oh, I like that
Yeah.
one. That's a good
So
one.
it's not like I'm not eating the cookie
Um,
because I'm trying to lose weight. I'm not eating the cookie because I want to be more healthy. I'm gaining health by not putting in all that sugar.
yes.
Reframe. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one, Jenny.
No, that's a very good point though.
Let's
I love
see.
it. And that you noticed and that you're using these and sharing these is so valuable. So people watching this later, this is the kind of thing, like this is information. Yes, try it yourself, but definitely feel free to reach out to Sherry or comment below if you have a question because we'll come back and answer them.
Yes. Here's another thing that both Jana and I ran into. She was cleaning her laundry room. This was like in early 2020 when we started with something. And she's like, I just got stuck because I don't know what to do with this. And I'm like, well, what is it? And she's like, well, it's a shirt and it needs a button. And then I've got this project and I need to hem this. And I said, well, why don't you create a project tote? So she has a project tote for things like that she could do when she's watching TV at night with her family, or it's just put away because she knows that it's a project, but it's not something to clean up right now.
That's really smart. I love that.
So that really helped
You
us.
could do that with
Here's
knitting
another.
and or games and
Yes.
puzzles. Yeah. That's very clever.
Yeah, like
Okay.
you're gonna give away something, but you can't find all the pieces. So you have like, okay, a lost, I don't know, something,
Yeah.
lost and found kind of thing. Yeah.
Lost and found in
And
my
then,
house.
yeah. And then stealth cleaning. There were a few things that my friend Jana did not want. Her husband tended to, I don't know, criticize her, I guess, a little bit, micromanage. Just he didn't want to see her. He didn't like messes, and he kind of had them hidden away behind things. So, um, he wanted to spend time at night, by the TV or doing something, and she wanted to get stuff done. So what she started doing is we called it stealth cleaning, and it was a game. So she would run into her laundry room because that's where a lot of the stuff was hidden, for just a few minutes at a time when she wouldn't be missed, and just grab one or two pieces of paper and process them or do something with it or put something away or wipe something down and then come back. And every, 20 or 30 minutes, she'd get up and we'd call it stealth cleaning.
so, so she's just doing
And it made
she's
it a
doing like
game.
bursts of this activity at like under the radar.
Yes, yes.
I love that. She's in stealth mode. Where's Jana?
Yes,
I
stealth
don't
mode.
know. That's great.
Um,
That's proof that, see, you can
oh,
get as
here's another
creative
thing.
as you can get, and it works. Like, yeah.
Yes, and I get really creative. Okay, so being that I'm a hypnotherapist, sometimes I would do what I would call where I'd bring people into the future. And there's this guy, Bert um, Goldman, And he passed a few years ago in his 90s. This guy was just amazing. And he had something he called quantum jumping.
Yeah.
And what he would do was something similar to what I had discovered on accident. What I do is I imagine going through a door and there's my future self. And I'll say to her, "Hey, Sherry," and I always ask to bring in the Sherry that is successful, happy, wealthy, wise, slim, just all of the stuff that I want to embody of who I want to be. And I'll have her come out from like a year or two. I'll say, "Okay, Sherry of 2024, I want to know what you did in February of 2023. How did you get through? What were you working on?" And she'll say, "Oh," and she'll get all excited. And she's like, "Well, first of all, I got together with my friend Jana and she came over and we did this project and we did this and we cleaned this and we organized this. And then I started, eating healthier. I don't know. I have a few scripts of what I would just type and imagine that I was her, 2 years in the future, myself 2 years in the future, and just I like typing it out and I would imagine what she was telling me that she would do. And it's just kind of a mind shift. So you can also do that with other people. Like if you love Atomic Habits, which is one of my favorite books, you could imagine you're James Clear and you're in a room with him. And that's also from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, doing an invisible council. So I can either imagine that I'm James and I can almost hear what he would say to me, or I could imagine that I'm sitting at a coffee shop with him and I'd say, "Okay, James, where do I start with this?" And he'd say, "Oh, Sherry, go do this and think about it this way." And so just a little bit of a perception shift
I
can really
love
help.
that. Well, Brian Scott has all that quantum jumping,
Yes, he
those
does. Yes,
videos
he is the
that
one that mentioned.
I
Yeah.
love. And I suggest if you haven't been to his channel to go to Brian Scott's Reality Revolution. This is where actually Sherry and I met and is in one of his groups, the Large Sums of Money group. And quantum
Yep.
jumping is definitely that's fantastic. Now see, I never would have thought
So
of that with cleaning. How clever. Yeah.
yeah, and so when Brian did it, he did the quantum jumping just a few weeks ago. I think it was like February 9th, I want to say. And he said something about Burt Goldman. And I'm like, I've never heard of Burt Goldman. And Burt Goldman was really big into NLP and hypnosis and all sorts of things. So I looked him up and there was a treasure trove of information. Oh, I think I lost you.
No, I'm here. I see you.
Oh, okay, I look frozen on the screen. So there
Oh,
was
you are
such a
frozen on the
treasure.
screen.
Oh, I look
But
a little
but
silly
I still hear you.
there.
Maybe
Okay,
you'll
well, we'll
unfreeze in a minute because we hear you.
okay. So anyway, Bert had such a treasure trove, and so it gave me even more ideas of like if I wanted to be a painter or if I wanted to become a photographer. And that's what he did. He quantum jumped into a part of himself that would be a famous photographer or a famous painter and get advice from that future self.
It's a brilliant idea. I'm also
Yeah.
thinking jumping into the place. See, I like to minimize the pain. Um, Jumping into, into this like, because like you said, if I were to go over to your house and try and clean it up, like it would just wouldn't have the emotional drain on me. I'd be more
It
objective.
doesn't.
So
No,
maybe pretending my house isn't my house would work too, where you're
I've done that.
pretending you're in a different you're in a different environment,
There's
even though it's
another,
your house.
yeah, there's another gal, Tasha Silver, and she's got two books, Outrageous Openness and It's Not Your Money. And one of the things she said was, I took some notes here. Oh, she would say, she would have you pray. "For this hour, please take me over, make me ready, and show me what to do. Come on, God, use me to kick some butt."
I love that.
And so, but I've done that before. And what I did is I imagined my future self that was all organized and clean and had already done it. And I said, "Hey, future self, um, you know, can you, help me? Um, I want you to take over my mind and so that I don't have the emotional drain and just make me do things. Pretend that you're just controlling this body and this mind."
Yeah, yeah. there's like a workaround for the way you look at things and for the way you feel about yourself and the way you feel about things. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just heard a noise outside. We're getting a delivery. So, um, yeah, this is all really good information. And I think what I'd like to do is to, present it like for people watching this episode to post in the comments, especially on YouTube, where you can post in the comments that you have your biggest challenge, that we could put together some kind of plan. Because you know what, cleaning up is like it was the bane of my existence, Sherry.
Me too.
When you mentioned it, I was like, I was 100% like, yeah, but I I could it was funny. There was a little residue from the old me that was like, oh my God, like because I just get so and I'm not saying I always and this sounds awful as self-talk, but I used to always think, Jenny, you're so immature. Why are you making this be such a big deal? Um, it's not a big deal, but it just really was for me. So if it is for you too, you're not
Oh, it's
alone.
huge. There's an emotional, it's the most bizarre thing, this emotion. And I'm going, seriously, why does every single thing on my list have to have some kind of emotion attached where I'm like, no, 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 I can't do that. It's just calling the dentist. No, 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 I don't want to take the time. And then working through all of these things, including cleaning. I mean, all these techniques, this is just stuff that I've discovered. And man, I feel like I'm a completely different person in the last 3 years.
If you think so, then you are.
I am. I am. And I
It's
do want to
such
let
good
you know
news.
I
Yeah,
am
go ahead.
low on battery for connecting to the internet
That's
here. So I'm
probably
doing it
what's
on my
happened because
phone.
I was going to say, I guess we'll wrap it up here. You've also been frozen for since you noticed that you froze. So I don't want
Okay.
to continue with you not having your beautiful shining face here. But like, we'll leave it there for now. But like, you're absolutely, I'd love to come on again and talk about this and more stuff. And for
Yeah. I,
everyone, like I said, reach out if you have a question or a comment.
yeah, because I think that I've taught it to 4 or 5 friends now, and we used to do it all the time, especially in 2020 when we were all stuck at home. Really, really helped all of us. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to
No,
answer
it's
more questions. And
absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for sticking with us, Brian and Sherry. I will see you soon. I will talk to you soon.
yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Great.
Well,